Hello everyone and welcome back to Mindful Manis and Chats. Today we are going to be going over the brand new Holo Cottagecore collection. So in case you're curious about what Cottagecore actually is, I will quickly insert a graphic to let you know. Overall, it's supposed to just represent a simple, more traditional countryside kind of vibe. If you've ever seen Lord of the Rings, it kind of reminds me of the lifestyle that the hobbits have in the Shire. I'm honestly kind of impressed by how well Holo has captured that aesthetic in just a color palette. I think especially so because the Holo palette is usually very bold and striking saturated colors, whereas this collection is very desaturated, muted kind of take on pastels, which is something that I've personally not seen very often in like the nail polish world. So I was really impressed by that. The colors itself are, I feel, unique to Holo own catalog. Alright, that's enough chit chat for now. Let's get into the swatches. Okay, so these cremes. First up, we have Skipping Stones. On the left, it's described as a pale, cool baby blue creme. In the middle, we have Time After Time, which is described as a cool sage green creme. And all the way on the right, we have Touch Grass, which is described as a cool grass green creme. Now, if you were paying close attention, you might be able to see that Touch Grass on the right is extremely opaque, basically a one coater in my opinion. The other two cremes also have really nice opaque formulas. Spoiler alert, all of the cremes in this collection are two coaters, which is amazing for pastels, and they are not thick or goopy at all, so that was extra impressive. Okay, so here's a closer look at Skipping Stones. It is very bleached as far as blues go. However, you can definitely still tell it's blue when it's on the nail. It's not going to look white, and it had an amazing two-coater formula even though it's very white based. Next up, we have Time After Time, which I know is described as a sage green. However, I see this more as a eucalyptus shade, if anything. Touch Grass is our second green in the collection, which I love. This one is described as a grass green, however, I would not see it as a grass green at all. If anything, this one also leans more eucalyptus or even jade. Alright, next up we have the next set of creams. First, on the left, we are going to have Wild Child, which is described as a muted lavender cream. In the middle, we have Nip in the Bud, which is a muted rose pink cream. And finally, on the right, we are going to have Rosemary Kill, which is a pale neutral pink cream. And I'm not gonna lie, just as I said it, I realized the pun, rosemary, rosemary. Okay, you get it. Okay, these also, like the other ones, have great formulas and you will only need 2 coats, probably regardless of your nail length. They are that good. Also, if you watched my previous review video, you might notice that I'm doing these swatches a little bit differently. I'm kind of batching them, so let me know what you think. Here's a closer look at Wild Child. I feel like the description is very accurate, being a muted lavender. It's very gray leaning. Next up would be Nip in the Bud, and unfortunately my camera was having a hard time correctly capturing this color. It definitely is a bit rosier in person and not as orange peachy looking. Similarly to the last one, Rosemary Kill is having a hard time showing up accurately on camera. It definitely leans a little bit more pink in real life, but overall it is still very, very pale. I thought it would be best to show the new Garden Party Taco over all of the creams in the collection, so I'm just going to quickly do that over a swatch wheel. As you can see, the glitters are having a hard time showing up while swatching, so that is definitely a struggle with these kinds of large glitter toppers. On the bright side, I know that this topper reminds a lot of people of the cherry blossoms that happen during this time of year. So if you are a fan of that, then this topper is definitely for you. Also, this topper is on the thicker side, so you might need some thinner for your bottle. It's hard to show this on camera, but some of those bigger flakes that are not the flowers, I swear are iridescent. I don't know if they're in the description, but they shift to a very pretty green. Okay everyone, it's time for comparisons. Since this is the most naturey collection that Holo Taco has ever put out, I decided to go out and touch some grass, show these comparisons for you guys out in the sun. Starting it off, we have Start Colors Morning Tide on the left, which is 3 coats of that beautiful blue jelly. In the middle is the new Holo Taco shade, and on the right is Essie's famous Bikini So Teeny. As you can see, none of these are dupes. Holo Tacos is definitely the most pale by far. I feel like the greens in this collection are very unique, at least to my own personal stash, so the only thing I really had to compare was 3 coats of Cirque Colors Jade Jelly, which of course is a jelly, so you're not going to have that totally opaque, creamy formula like you are going to have with the new Holo Taco shades. The sun came out for a quick second, so we got to see these in the sunlight as well. Honestly, when I saw the new Nip in the Bud, I really thought it was going to be more similar to Low Key Blushing, but as you can see, Low Key Blushing has a little bit more orange in it, and it's just a deeper, more saturated color overall. And of course, compared to Cert Colors Rose Jelly, which is again a jelly finish, it's not going to have that opaque creaminess like the other two. Now we have kind of a weird comparison because on the left we have Polished for Days Soft Focus Base Coat in the shade Lavender Ice. Honestly, this didn't even cross my mind at first because it is a base coat, but I feel like they are actually pretty similar, but of course the Rosemary Kill leans more pink. Speaking of Rosemary Kill, here is these 2 toppers that I will be comparing over it. On the left is Glam Polish Spring Bling, and on the right is the new Garden Party Taco. They have very different glitters. They're not really that similar, but I feel like they both have that pastel, large glitter topper with holographic flakies in it, so I figured I would show it. Here are some quick bottle shot comparisons next to colors that I didn't think would be too similar when swatched on the wheel, but I wanted to just prop the bottles up next to each other so you could see what they look like anyway. In this shot, Pinky Swear and Nip and Bud look very similar, but in person, Pinky Swear is way more saturated. And here's just a quick little summary of all the different cremes in this new collection, topped with the new Garden Party Taco. This is also what they look like in the shade. So like I said in the beginning of the video, this collection I think is a very different approach for Holo Taco's spring collection, but I'm really vibing with it, especially the whole cottagecore aesthetic is kind of a little trendy, so I am happy to see Holo Taco jumping on some of those trends because I think usually they're a little later than they would like. Also, for some reason, this collection reminds me a little bit of their older fall collections, the Tea Cremes collection. Maybe it's just because it's 6 creams in a topper, but I feel like there's something about both collections that make them similar to each other. I think maybe it's because both of them are takes on their respective seasons' color palette, but just a little bit different. Like the Tea Cremes had a bit of like a warmer, more rustic aesthetic, and these have a more muted and desaturated, subtle vibe for spring, which I know is typical with pastels, but these are just a little bit different and makes them a little bit more unique. I would say all of these have pretty good formulas. They are definitely on the runnier side a little bit, but definitely not Crellies by any means. And they are very opaque still, even though they're a little bit runny. They are very workable. Just don't get too much on your brush and you should be okay. The one I actually think was the hardest to work with was the new Garden Party Taco. I feel like they tried to overcompensate with clear base in the topper because I know they have a lot of complaints from people who may not be super familiar with reflective glitters, that the reflective particles were too textured and people didn't like that. So I think that Holo Taco tried to put more of that base in so that when it does go on your nail, it's pretty smooth, which I did find. Even though there's a lot of reflective glitter in this topper, there actually wasn't hardly any texture at all. So it's kind of a give and take. Maybe if you put some thinner in it, it'll make it a lot easier to work with. Also, they put like a crap ton of flower glitters in the topper, which is good because if it's going to be a flower topper, you should expect a lot of flowers. However, the flowers were still a little bit tricky to get on the nail. I think I swatched the topper around 10 times and I only got a flower on the nail like twice, and that was with a little bit of fishing. However, if you're someone that like needs the flowers on each nail, I would say definitely pour a little bit out on like a silicone mat and just pick the flowers up with like a toothpick after you just swipe on the topper regularly, because all the other glitters are in there in abundance, and you can just pour out for a couple of the flower glitters and apply them with a toothpick. My favorite from the collection is actually going to be Skipping Stones. I feel like it is very different for Holo Taco. I know it's just a pale blue, but something about it just works really well for me. I'm also noticing it kind of like matches my shirt perfectly, which might be helping it, but I really vibe with this polish and it just reminds me of like calmness and serenity and clear blue skies, and it is just so calming, so I love that. A close second favorite is going to be Touch Grass. I feel like it is just a unique shade that I don't see very often personally in the polish world, so I appreciate that about it. I also cannot get enough of greens, so there's that too. If I had to pick a least favorite, it would probably be Nip in the Bud. Unfortunately, this color I think just does not suit my skin tone. It's on my pinky right now, and I feel like it's just not the vibe for me. I don't know what it is. I think it's similar in tone to Low Key Blushing from Holo Taco, but that one's just a little bit darker and a little bit more red leaning, and it works a little better for me. But if that one does not work for you, this one will. Another one that I didn't really vibe with is Garden Party Taco. I think it's just because it was so kind of thick and goopy to get on the nail. Like I said, I didn't try the toothpick method, but that would definitely make things a lot easier. It's just not really what I look for in a topper, honestly. However, I am very glad to see Holo Taco experimenting with these thicker glitters toppers. I think it could bring a lot to the table in terms of what they could add in their toppers. So I'm glad to see them experimenting when it comes to that. I'm also just not really a big fan of big, like chunky topper glitters like this in general, so take that with a grain of salt. Alrighty guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the review. I really like this new direction that Holo Taco chose to go on for their spring collection. I think it brought a lot of newness and freshness to their catalog, so I hope their audience appreciates it. I know I appreciate you watching me. Alrighty guys, I'll catch you in the next one. My next video, if you're interested, is going to be on how I destash a lot of my collection, because as you know, this channel is focused on mindful nail polish collecting, consumption, which almost doesn't even make sense. Like, how can you be mindful and consume at the same time? I don't know, but we're trying to figure it out on this channel. So if you're interested in destashing in general, definitely stick around for my next video. It'll come next Saturday. Let me know all thoughts down below on your guys' opinions or takes on this new collection. Like I said, I'm really vibing with it, so I hope you guys do too. And thanks again to Holo Taco for sending me this collection. Alrighty, thanks for watching. Bye!